22 years later that my airplane turned out to be something that people are like, yeah, and it's 100% safety record, thank God.
Right,
you
right.
know,
well, you didn't use any special parts.
No,
or,
off the shelf, everything.
Right, right.
Aluminum tube is the same, everything.
Right, right.
It's 12-foot lengths. There's nothing longer than 12 feet.
Right.
You don't need to do nothing crazy. That's why the wingspan's 27 feet. You know, it should be like 33 feet to get the most performance. But for
Right.
what in the flight regime it's in, and ask him, he went from a beginner to flying it every day, going on missions, combat missions.
Right.
Many
Combat
people
missions.
fly my plane. Many people fly my plane as a solo. They first solo in the Affordaplane, and that's a great
Right. That'll be an interesting discussion sometimes. I remember when I first I've owned a Kolb and a Challenger. I love my Kolb.
yes.
I didn't fly them until I took pilot lessons up to the point of soloing, so that in my head, because I'm kind of a scaredy cat, I could say, well, at least I know officially I can. Someone trusted me to take off and land their plane, and then I set that aside, but then I could go do the ultralights. I'm just afraid of telling anyone to hop in after they build this thing and go flying, you know, that's because I know, you know, that transition is,
Yes, it's a big one.
It's an issue.
But
yeah,
you know, having that frame, the way it looks and how sturdy it looks, and it is probably the strongest airframe you'll ever find.
oh yeah, no,
I knew Homer Kolb. Homer, it's Homer.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to bring him drinks out at the flight line. When we were at Sun and Fun, Paradise City,
gotcha, right.
30 years ago,
Right.
Homer Kolb, he was an old man then.
Oh, yeah, right,
and,
right,
and he
yeah.
was in like his 70s, 80s.
Right.
And I used to go out, you talk about not flimsy, but very light.
Yeah.
He's like what I call a real designer. Like he'd get down to the thickness of whatever, aluminum can, and he would use that on the airplane.
Right.
And his light, you know, they perform, and they're just as strong as they need to be.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, but he was a great guy. He's a real designer.
Yeah.
And his planes are fantastic.
Right.
I'm using the steel landing gear struts for my new one I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. But anyway, yeah, Homer Kolb, he's a great guy.
Right,
And
right.
great bunch of airplanes.
He was into all those steel welded tubes, which is
Yes,
fine,
he
except
was.
you had to kind of buy it because you don't.
Yeah.
I would never trust my, you know, gas welding back then
Yes.
was really all I had,
Yes.
but the engine up above was really neat. I like that, and my Firestar. This was back in the day, so this
Yeah.
was like the 90s. I knew it was illegal, but so did everyone else because they had two-seaters. I had a 503. I mean, the thing was clearly 50 pounds or more too heavy.
Yep,
But man,
nobody
that
cared.
was a rocket ship. But
That's right.
nobody cared. Now with Sport Pilot, it's like, yeah, they care. So that's why.
Right.
Yours.
But not really for ultralights. They don't care how much they weigh. It does not matter at all.
Well, I was going to say, have we talked to people that have usually you
Never.
get when you have an incident is
Never.
when they come.
And even then, it doesn't
They
matter.
don't
how
come
much
and
they
weigh the jumps
Never.
in there.
Never.
Okay.
In the history of aviation,
Kick the spare
since I've
parts
been in
aside.
it, they've never.
Right,
And
right.
when you get in a wreck,
Take the battery off.
if you crash it into the White House or Congress or something, they would call the FAA and say, what is it? Is ultralight, you know, experimental? It's an ultralight. We don't have nothing to do with it.
Right.
I've seen that 50 times.
Even
when
so
they
the
crash
weight
and
thing is not the issue?
The weight doesn't mean anything.
Right,
They'll
right.
never be ramp checked. Now my plane was weighed because I asked them to. We had EAA designees when I first brought it out, and we weighed it. And it was 254 pounds. And the light sport version is 10 pounds lighter in the airframe, so you can use a variety of engines. So you can use a 377 if you want, a Rotax, or you can use the Kawasaki's the lightest. But
Right.
the Herth is a great engine. F23 is a
Right,
great
right.
motor. He flies a Herth.
I fly a Herth.
And
Which one?
It's
20
pricey.
2704.
2704. Okay. Two-cylinder.
It's
Two
pricey,
cylinder,
but
50.
they're rock solid.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Half VW is another one. I don't think you can make it
They're
103 with a
heavy.
half.
I got
VW.
mine on Barnstormers, about 2,400 bucks, and I did put some money into rebuilding and putting new seals in it. It's
What?
run like a champ ever since.
Half Volkswagen? Oh,
No, my Herth.
oh.
The Hertz, yep,
Yeah.
Yep. And,
So
yeah,
it's-
and a quick story, I had started a video, actually it's on my website, for the B-Light. You can buy the very
Sure.
first one. Of course, that guy, in my opinion, was a flake on the wall.
I
And
can't
so
say nothing.
I had to discontinue that, so he kind of burned me. He was an example of I picked the wrong guy to follow to make a video for, because again,
Right.
he canceled the plane like halfway through my video. We talked about doing the video, good idea, I'll help you, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going, because to make a video, as you know, I will spend a half a year of my
course.
time from beginning to end to make a complete thing so someone can
That's
literally do this. And then to have a guy like, we're not doing these anymore. It's like,
Didn't
screw
we
you.
didn't sign
Yeah.
nothing,
Didn't
so
didn't he have a fire that kind of took
he had
him out?
a very convenient fire, you know.
Okay.
And I'm sure it was real, but the point is that solved a whole lot of his other problems. I just stay
Right.
away from the guy, you know.
Right.
He makes transducers and things that I've heard mixed with, He's a brilliant guy, but I think he's got ADD because he's just
Yeah.
jumping from one thing to another. And,
Yeah.
you know.
That's me.
See, the good thing with this is you can just go to the group and build it like anybody else, and you'll get all the support you need.
Right,
If I flaked out, it wouldn't matter to you
Right,
at all.
right, yeah.
Wouldn't matter at all. And you wouldn't even have to link it to the site. If you do it just for fun for yourself, that's good enough for me.
Right. No,
I'd want you to have fun.
Well, ultimately what I do, I'll promise you this, will bring you more sales of your plans. So
That would be great.
That's
And I'll support you all I
and
can.
You keep coming up like what I liked with your steel tangs. I mean, sure, someone could spend hours finding it from somewhere, but if they got one place to go, they'll buy it from you.
Yeah,
and I don't mind.
That's my goal.
I
Is
hope you're making some money on those.
well, it's a little bit of profit, but
You should, yeah.
but my goal is to bring in a lot of these parts are hard to find,
Yeah,
and for years, the biggest question on the group is where do we get the tangs, where do we get the wing? You know, all of these things were hard to find. Now, it's not that they don't make them anymore, but you do have to look and you have to source.
Yeah, I do tell everyone where that stuff's at, but that's a constant thing.
Right.
My back just went out. I'm gonna have to sit down.
Oh, yeah.
We've done a whole lot of. You want to go
You
in
want to
there?
sit in the tent for a second, and then we'll take off?
You betcha.
Yeah.
You betcha.
We'll get
But-
some good ideas going, so.
But yeah, John, the whole thing was, you know, I got in partnership with some of the other, you know, aircraft parts suppliers, and I'm trying to make sure that they're carrying everything. Dave, can you hold this for a second? It's still recording.
This is how Terry opens his tent.
This is how I do
This is how Mr. Aviation opens his tent.
Yeah, you guys take the chairs here, and
Where's you- where you
I'll
gonna
sit
go?
on the bed.
So, okay.
All right.
So you can sit there if you like, John.
Yeah, look at his hoodie. That's so weird seeing that.
Wow. Yeah.
I drew that 20 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a lot of the stuff that we have on the store, you know, stuff like this and hats and
Right.
and whatnot. And Dave told me, he's like, hey man, if you can do some hats in the Affordaplane font, he says I'd love to have one for Sun and Fun. And he's like, I'll pay for it. And I was like, oh man, don't worry about it. As soon as I made the hats and put them on the website, he was the first order.
Oh, really?
You were the first person to buy it.
That's a big sounds like a, what's it called now? Oh, it's an airline. That's what that is.
Oh, that's Amazon.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah, so what did Amazon didn't take over our metal buildings here, right? They took over
No.
different buildings. Okay.
They built their own.
They built their own little setup across the runway.
It's on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And have you been here tonight, your first night?
No. I've been here many years, but it's the first time I heard about Amazon making this their.
Well, they wake me up throughout the night. You know, and that's what my earplugs are for.
You've been camping here.
I've been camping here since the 9th.
Oh,
Well,
I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wait a minute. So wait a minute. So when do the flights come in early in the morning?
All
early
day
in the
and all
morning. Yeah, they're all day
Yeah.
long. Early in the morning.
During the week, they're doing slower for the air show, but normally it's every like 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah,
So it's
huge.
really busy.
This is one of the biggest distribution centers there is.
Okay.
There's one in Riverview. It's got like 10,000 people.
So they're these planes are coming from other
Everywhere.
thing. Okay, and then
Everywhere.
they sort and then the truck.
buildings are huge. I helped build this airport. I dug the sidewalks. We did all this. It's as volunteers, EAA volunteers.
From way
My
back.
friend and I just
you're talking about way back?
Way back.
Okay.
My friend Joe Araldi started Sun and Fun in his tea hangar across the way back in 1973. He started it, and there was a fly-in. It was a reason to get drunk, and it was they all come in and they go to his tea hangar, and that's what started Sun and Fun.
But now you were from Ohio, I thought. No.
I'm from here.
But doesn't the Affordaplane address say?
It's here. It's Dover, Florida, which is
What am
like
I
10 miles
thinking
from
of?
here.
Somebody. Okay, I'm thinking of a different. So Dover is a town here.
A little bitty town, yeah.
Gotcha.
Brandon's a big city.
Right.
It's straight shot from where I live. I live in an RV park. It's a straight shot from there to here.
Gotcha.
Straight to the front door.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
amazing.
Gotcha. You're Texas, Terry,
Houston.
right?
I'm Houston.
Okay,
Texas.
gotcha. See, I drove this. I left Wisconsin, my home, in November, and for November, December, January, February, I've been driving in an RV all over the country, mostly
Really?
out west. Yes, first time I've ever done that. My other half, she was a little afraid of the COVID, and we got cats, so I'm like, that's fine. I want to do this myself. So I got the smallest Class A you can get, you know, because I like to maneuver. Half my time was at campgrounds. The other half was dry boondocking out in the desert and stuff, because I love learning about managing power
Yes,
and water and
me
all
too.
that for weeks at
Me
a
too,
time,
love it.
but still having luxury. I love this. This is very
Love
nice.
it.
You know.
Yeah, he's got it made. It's great.
And I feel I'm very fortunate because I fill my DVD orders from the RV because I can print them, duplicate them,
Yep.
mail them
That's
all
right.
from PayPal and all that.
Yep.
I just need to find a store. And I keep thinking my business is going to die because my only sales are really the RV12. Now Vans sells tons of planes, but they got so many models. That's why I won't do any
That's
of them
right.
because I'll pick one and it's like, yeah, they only
Yeah.
sell a few of those. The RV12 is an exception because
Yes.
that was light sport. Whoa, did they sell a lot? You
Yeah.
know, I've sold literally hundreds, and that's a big number for me, of my DVD sets.
And it's a good plane.
You know, it's a very good,
Really
plane.
good plane.
And then the other thing that sells out here for light sport is Zenith. Zenith by far sells more kits. And then
Crank that up.
Airplane brake.
and then Sonic's a few. But Zenith, because they're easy to put together, except what I've noticed over the years is that people take a Zenith, which is only 15, 20,000, I say only, but by the time they're done, they'll put $15,000 panel. The
That's
engine
right.
will be a $25,000 road tax,
The
and it's
prop's
like
10 grand.
and then they'll put $5-6 grand in paint. It's like they're taking like the simplest, unbeautiful plane and just because it was easy for them to put together. And then
it's a prestige thing. Why do people have shiny cars?
Right.
They don't have to be shiny. They
No.
like shiny baubles,
They're
and they'll
hanger
pay for it.
queens, yeah.
They'll pay.
Oh,
The same thing.
I had no idea these people had that kind of money. though.
I'll tell you, John.
Oh, there's money out there. That's the biggest mistake I made, was not thinking there was money in their pockets that I could have.
You could have, but the numbers, that is a small clique that are dying because they're like 50, 60, 70 and dying, and it's, you know, EAA will go out and fly Young Eagles, and I've always been a thorn in their side. I says, why are you flying these kids? The kid can't tomorrow say, that was exciting, where do I buy a kit, where do I take flight lessons? They should be flying 20, 30, and 40-year-olds. They can immediately
Right.
say, where do I go
Translate
take
that
lessons?
into
Where do I?
something real.
Yes, immediately. Not plant the, well, we're planting seeds. We're all going to be dead by the time these
It's true.
seeds are
It'll
going,
all
or
be
they'll lose
changed.
interest.
We'll have flying cars by then.
Yeah, or-
we'll have something, you know,
Right,
like drones.
Right.
Drones changed
Oh,
everything.
That's why
Everything.
Sebring
Hey,
is gone, right?
I'm not getting in a drone, guys. I've built enough airplanes, models.
Yeah, but the kids,
drones.
Oh, it's the
Sebring was
dream.
there, and all these kids came, and they were wearing backpacks full of drones. I'm like, Sebring, this is not what there is no translation for a kid to go
Right.
from a drone to an airplane. Does not exist. Same with
No.
model planes. I've been shocked. It's
Right.
It's a tough.
Oh, it's dead. Well, gas engines are dead.
You know,
Electric is huge.
A helicopter, you can auto rotate. An airplane, you can glide. A drone,
Oh, they just crash. I know.
they just crash. They have no means of safely landing without
Fly-by-wire and all
power.
that.
I went to-
However, they are. I work with a lot of drone companies, and they have the technology now, redundant systems and all that,
And if the
to
battery's
make it
getting
work.
weak, bring it
Yeah,
down.
they've got all that figured out now.
I think probably the safest option for a drone is a parachute.
Yeah.
Because I've built enough drones from
Ballistic
scratch that even when you have redundant systems, they become very finicky. The electronics are susceptible to interference. There's all kinds of things.
And now it's
going
getting
on.
tough. The rules keep changing on who can fly and where. I went to Benson Days. I took the RV there and came back. The crowd was down from 2 years ago. That's why I was interested to see what's happening here. But the one thing that struck my eyes, because I think gyrocopters are neat. I don't have my license or anything. They had an ultralight one and had a Bellini 250 engine on the
Right.
back,
I've
but it
seen it.
looked beautiful. And I'm
Yeah.
like, here again, inexpensive way for the average person to get into gyrocopters, not the 80 grand
No,
one
right.
that needs a pilot's. I mean,
Right. Now, where do you think the idea for the A-plane came from? With the Benson gyrocopter was one square aluminum tube.
Yes, yes.
2x2.
Yep.
With a mast
Yes.
with a 27-foot
Right,
rotor
right.
and an 80 horse McCullough on the back.
Okay.
And it's one tube, and the pilot's tube
Sits
is that
on the
way,
front, yeah.
and the motor's mounted on the back with a 27-foot rotor, and it takes all the loads with no strengtheners inside. Nothing.
Right,
A little
no.
bit of machine stuff, but that's it. And I had the idea of a Northrop glider, which is a single fuselage wood glider. Was, you know, the Northrop glider was the original glider. They tow it in the air, or you have
Okay.
a bungee tow or whatever, and it would give people an idea of flight and all that. You fly around, you could catch thermals and fly it. And the Benson was built like that, and I combined those two, and thus came the Affordaplane.
Wow. And what year was that?
98.
It's right at the turn of the century, around 2000.
98, and ultralights were starting to. Back in the day, I've got video of the old ultralight field here, Paradise
Yes.
City was an enormous.
Yes,
and
I was
worked,
there, yes.
Were you?
Yes.
I worked with the squadron people that had the biplanes. The SE5, the SPAD, and the Fokker D7. They
Okay.
had the biplanes that were there, and they were my dearest friends. I used to work for the factory. And then Mike Lowley bought
Right.
the company, and he did all his airplanes. Greatest airplane I've ever known.
And what? Explain to me what happened with Lowley. I mean, I talked with him
He
4 or 5
retired.
years ago. Well, he turned into paint. It's like
He's on our group. He's on yours and mine.
Is he?
Yeah, I
so
talk to him all the time.
Ultralights just didn't sell. I mean,
No,
why
he
did-
retired. He quit, and he didn't sell the company.
Right.
His wife Sandy died. Then you can't never post this. I mean, you can't post this part.
Okay.
His wife Sandy died and of cancer, and they were all friends of ours. And
Edit out.
and he just retired. He lost his heart, and he
Okay.
just retired.
Right.
He didn't sell it to nobody.
I noticed
Didn't
it
turn
just
it into
kinda
nothing.
disappeared.
He had the parasol. He had a whole bunch
he had a
of
whole bunch
really
of
good
wonderful
designs.
ones, yes.
And the squadron birds were the neatest thing I've ever seen in my life. It started with a Cloud Dancer Jenny. Now I know all the old ones, Aerotique Parasol, all the original ultralights. I was there when they
Right.
first came out.
Right.
When they first showed the ultralights at Sun and Fun, I was there as a little kid.
Okay.
I was 15 or 16.
Right.
And that was my dream, was to fly those. And then the Quicksilvers came out and
Yes,
all that
the-
stuff.
yes,
but
that's-
there was
that's about
all
what I got.
kinds of, the Tomcat, the millions of all them designs. They were all like gypsies.
The Titan,
There's a big
that-
Titan
that,
Tornado.
yeah, right.
We just saw one flying, the next
That's the neat
generation.
thing, right.
But you come out there and you'd see all these ultralights. They were all gypsy companies that would come in and make Cobra, they'd make a big selling, make a big splash, and they were gone overnight.
Yeah.
Disappeared overnight.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
them went bankrupt. A lot of them had corruption. And Goldwing was a huge company. Designer got killed. Somebody dented the wing. He went flying in front of a demonstration. He crashed right in front of them. End of company.
Right.
Millions of planes like that. Millions of them.
And Rotax was pumping out 2-cycle
Oh,
engines.
Cuyuna
you
was
know.
huge. I flew Cuyuna on my first one, 2SI. Cuyuna sold a 2SI. I flew that.
Oh, the 2SI, right? And they made the generator
Yep.
pumps things, and
They
then you
did
don't hear about
Skidoos.
them anymore.
Skidoo
right?
motors were all 377s.
Right.
And our guy on our group, Rich Gillen, is a genius with those motors. He knows how to buy a $150 motor on eBay and turn it into a aircraft
right.
motor.
Gotcha,
And
right.
I mean, it just, there's a lot of stuff like now, like with motors. There's a Predator engine. The Predator can be turned into a 40-horse motor. Now it turns out to be like $2,500 plus the motor, $700, something like that. You can buy the motor brand new for $700 and then convert it and buy a redrive for a hovercraft or whatever it is, some outfit. He probably knows the name. They sell a kit that goes right on that, and you do the cams and lifters and have a machine. Jimmy McIntosh did, one of our flyers, did a Predator motor. It's a wonderful 4-banger motor. And it's a great, the weight's really good and all that. So there's lots of innovation now. Doing what you do, showing that innovation is where your money's at. Is where selling those videos. You think you're doing a lot with brands? Wait till you sell a Affordaplane. If we work some, however it works out.
Right.
You do something. Now I'm wanting to do my own videos. and
Right, and
workshops
by the
and
way,
all that.
and you should not stop, because I'm in the belief that you can't have too much content, because people want to watch both. They like more rather than less. I have the way I
You're
do
the builder's
things,
viewpoint, and
you're
I'm the designer's viewpoint.
right?
And we can make it different enough. If we work together, we won't step on each other.
Right.
And
Oh,
we
there'll
will
be-
enhance
yeah.
and contrast. We will enhance each
Right.
other's. And I've been doing this. I've been on the net since it was DARPAnet.
Right.
I've been on it since it was a BBS. I was in the very
Yeah.
beginning with the modems and all that. Not like AOL, but like the early days when it was still a military net.
I remember AOL.
You know,
The big three: AOL, CompuServe, and Prodigy.
my background, just so you know, I worked at Digital Equipment. I worked at Ingress and then Oracle. I was more in the training end and basic software development, or business analyst, or all of that stuff. And because at the end for Oracle, I was the instructor. Like, they'd come in for how to do a DBA with the Oracle thing. This back in the good old days. Now
was at
I haven't
Oracle?
done that for, yeah. And then I worked independent, because I was teaching Oracle for Oracle at an Oracle thing, and a guy came up and says, did you ever want to work on your own? I says, what do you mean? He says, well, I have a company, I teach Oracle. I says, what do you mean? He says, I specialize. I says, Oracle's that big that you have your own separate?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, yeah. So I worked for him for 5 years, which
I'll
was
be
neat.
danged.
Yeah, so but that's where the instruction in the video came from. It's
I see
like,
the direct line.
yeah,
That's
so
what makes it no brainer.
but I am not a I'm not talented in the areas that you are at all when it comes. I built
I bet you
enough
are.
kit planes, but that's because I pick things up from talking to people. I don't have inherent, you know, design
Well,
capabilities,
marketing
you
and
know.
branding, that's my thing. I'm
Excellent.
a natural marketer. That
Right.
kind of thing. That helped Affordaplane. Even though I've done no advertising, it's a long story.
Right,
But
right.
my best friend got killed out here 20 years ago, and I worked with him. We grew up together, had the same dream. He died in his plane, and I succeeded with mine. So I didn't feel like I was allowed to be big. I just weird.
Well,
but
I
it's
think
true.
I think
didn't
you
come here
are,
for 20
and
years.
I think what you and Phil have done, starting Affordaplane, because I started
yeah.
I started my build before the official Affordaplane group was around,
Okay.
and I felt like I was kind of out there by myself for a
Yes, a
while.
lot of
But you
people did.
finished it. So many
It-
people don't finish.
That's right.
it, you know.
Well, it had a lot to do with the group because, like most people, I had a YouTube channel, but the only thing on there was, me and my kid or me and my airplane,
right.
my
You didn't have a
models.
mission for the channel like you do
right.
now.
Exactly. And so when the Affordaplane group came along and Dave was on there and Jimmy McIntosh was on there,
And you're referring to the Facebook group.
the
Yes.
Facebook group, right? And when that group came along, it really gave me a place to go to, ask questions. And I was, and a lot. Robert Cromer was one of the first guys on the group in Australia
He
who
flies every day.
he and I were kind of close at the same area
Yep.
of our build, and it inspired me to go ahead and start taking video
Right.
and
right.
post it to YouTube. And now I'm not 50,000 or anything like that. I only have 2,000 followers.
But that's fine. Because you have a store now, your videos, even if you stop making videos, you shouldn't, but I'm just saying
Right.
that supports the credibility for your store
right.
and a pilot and everything. You have a perfect combination.
That's right. And ties into my company.
and all that. Yep. And I don't sell stuff, so I'm never going to compete with you with selling doodads. I just don't.
Well, we had
you
a
know.
huge market for that because everybody asked us, how can I get an Affordaplane hat? Because you've got to make it a thing.
Right.
That's the whole deal. You've got to make it a thing. You've got to turn it into a brand.
Right.
Now we've got the shirts and the hats and all that.
Right.
Now it's a thing. 20 years, nothing.
Gotcha.
Now it's a thing. Now
Yeah.
it's the Affordaplane movement.
Right.
Right. It's a
Show him
grassroots
the
movement.
coffee cup for Tango Alpha
Oh,
One.
And that's important because all the ultralights, as you know, look at that.
That's his design, his graphic.
Very nice.
Isn't that cool?
Very nice.
Pretty
Very
neat.
colorful too.
Yeah, very nice.
There's so many great ultralights out there, but none of them are predominant. You got your Challengers out there. Poor Kolb. Kolb, I always thought had the best, but they ever
trickle
since
in.
Sport Pilot came along, all the two-seaters are now illegal, and they had, some people converted them back when they could and all that. But that's why it'd be interesting to see at Paradise City who's still hanging
That's right.
in there. Now I'll tell you
You're
one
gonna be
guy.
surprised, I bet.
Well, every year, no, I see it.
It gets so worse. All it is
Yes,
trikes
yes,
and Challengers.
yes.
It's the original
Yeah.
Challengers and trikes and a few Titan Tornadoes.
Now, one guy-
There's nothing else.
I'm interested in that gentleman's Merlin light,
I've heard of that.
and he's got a little.
That's a cool plane.
I swear, the engine, that Polini, you could stick
Yeah.
it in your
It
pocket.
looked like a toy.
I emailed him about 6 months ago when I first saw the video, and I was like, I wonder if my Herc 2704 will fit on the front of that thing. And he emailed me back and said, you might want the Light Sport because that's going to be a bit much for the Merlin Light. And I was out here when he landed at Paradise City, and when I walked up and looked at that airplane, it is tiny. I mean, it's a lot of room for a pilot.
Right.
It's not tight inside, but the airplane itself is physically, it's smaller than the Affordaplane.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more work, and he doesn't offer kits. He's selling the whole plane. And this is what I like about what Dave does, is that, I mean, there's a lot of people that want kits or sub kits,
Yeah.
but for me, it was literally shoestring budget.
Well, yeah, shoestring. And if you're not committed to buy a kit like that and spend
That's
$10,000,
it.
you need a commitment.
You
to
sure
do what
do.
you guys are doing, you need
Few hundred
$29.
bucks.
You
That's
know?
Yeah.
Yep.
And
That's right.
my plane right now, I may have 10, 12,000. I don't even know how much I have into it.
Right.
But the thing is I didn't lay it all out at one time.
Right.
It was, I had money to build the frame. I built the
Assemblies.
frame.
You
I
did
had money to
assemblies.
build the empennage or the tail, and I did that. And
Yep.
I kept building, and one day a good deal on an engine came around. I bought
That's
the
it.
engine. So, you might find yourself a little strapped for cash. You just do what you can do.
Exactly.
And when it's all said and done, as long as you do something every day.
That's right.
And I don't care
You drill a hole.
if you drill a
If it's
hole,
all you do.
if you pop a rivet,
That's it.
if you go out there
Make
and
one fitting.
you sit in it and make airplane noises.
That's
But if
right.
you become passionate and have basically an intimate relationship with the process of building, you have to keep giving yourself a small goal.
Well, and here's how my videos take care of the people who don't have that. You would think someone that bought a Zenith kit where everything is in there and they have an instruction guide and they have all the plans, they finish it.
Right.
It turned out tons
No.
of them stopped in their tracks.
They become overwhelmed.
Well, they do, and they do. And when they discovered the one reason my videos took off, it wasn't because I necessarily do great videos, so I'd like to think I do pretty good ones. Turns out there's a group of people who aren't quite as sharp or as advanced as you and maybe the three of us are, that if you give them literally, follow along with me, I will not leave a step out.
That's right.
You don't have to think about anything.
That's
I'm going
right.
to take this part, I'm
That's
going to cut
exactly
it,
right.
I'm going to put it here. Now, that's why my videos are so verbose. There's hours
That's
and hours
right.
and hours, but there's a market that says, I don't care.
That's
I
right.
will fast forward if
That's
it's
right.
going too slow.
That's exactly it.
And that includes another bunch of people. See, I know you had a technical background. I meant you were like a teacher or something, or instructor, or...
I ran a handyman business for
okay.
28, 30 years.
Right. Now we need the person that you helped. Can he build a plane? Well, we want to sell a set of plans, we want to sell some metal tanks, and I want to sell the video to include, because that market now is just 10 times bigger for the person
It's
that says,
huge.
yeah, if you show me step by step, I'll do it.
Because
And,
it
you know,
includes everybody.
now
in the
everybody,
world.
except the people. Now I heard something about millennials, like 50% of them. I'm not sure I'm using the word millennials,
Right,
XYZ.
right.
Don't own a
Boomers,
hammer
whatever,
or something
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
We can't help those people,
Right.
you know.
But
and-
there's a lot on the group.
My son is just, I try to make it a point to get my son out in the garage. If I need to work on a car, or if I need to do
Now,
something.
how old is he, would you say?
He's 21.
21. Now, what does that make him?
A millennial.
A millennial, okay.
Okay, so and my daughter's what? She's 14, so she's right behind him. But you know, they've been around.
They've been around you. That's
They've
a big help.
They've been around me, and for years and years. I mean, I've been in the model airplanes since I was, I don't know, 10 years old.
Right.
I built a lot of model airplanes. I go back when you couldn't buy anything but a box of wood. And so I built airplanes that way.
Now, and another thing, let me interject real quick. You got to get into the mindset of these thousands of model plane builders. I've yet to see them convert into real planes. It just seems a tough sell. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's true.
It actually makes, to me, it seems like it makes perfect sense.
I
Because,
would think so too, but
because you know,
Well, you don't know the transition is why. You don't. The reason you don't have numbers is nobody has ever investigated that. But I know from a personal
Gary
experience,
Bowe
lots of people
has
like me
made-
built models, all of them. I built all of the Gillos.
Okay, and that went
Comets,
into real
and then
planes.
went into full, because that's and lots of people in aviation, 90% of them built model airplanes.
Okay.
Gary
90%.
Gary
Okay.
Bowe
I just may be wrong.
on both the groups, he has built. He's I think he's up in Indiana with Jimmy.
Yeah, I talk to him a lot.
He's already built a scale Affordaplane
Yeah.
RC model,
Oh, wow.
and now I think he's working on a half scale Affordaplane
Yeah, he
RC
talks to me
model.
all the time.
Yeah,
But
but
a scale model.
a
full
scale
size.
model.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But now,
So-
go ahead.
so yeah, I think it transitions well, and there's a lot of things that you do learn about when you're building these airplanes. But you know, my kids have been around me through building all of that. They've been around me building houses and remodeling, and you know, most recently I redid my father-in-law's house after Hurricane Harvey. And so they've been around me and my tools a lot, and I think they take it for granted. But because they are growing up in the society that they are today, where people don't do a lot of stuff for themselves,
Yeah.
I try to include them. And you know, even if we're changing brakes on the car, you know, put your hands on a wrench. I need a 9/16, so I need a 10 millimeter. And it's funny for me because I watch them go to the toolbox and they're like,
Yeah, look at all
They-
this stuff.
they don't have
Yeah.
a clue until I show them, and I'll pull them out. This is called a crescent wrench. This is called a pair of channel locks. You know, this is an impact. But we are in a society where there's a whole lot of people that have never held a hammer.
It's called two words: common sense. We've lost common sense. We don't know. If you've grown up in a suburban environment where you go order a pizza on your phone, the most important thing they've ever done in life is what to order for lunch. That's it. And to jump back to that about building the plane and stuff, the reason we have such a high completion rate is that you can take the fuselage and and stick it on nails in the wall, and it'll only take up 2 inches of space
Right.
on that wall. When I do kids, I'll have beams coming out. I can put 6 fuselages against the wall. You'll never know they're there. And you can complete a part as money allows. Go throw it out in the rain, and it's not going to hurt it at all. It's not going to corrode. It's nothing because it's anodized aluminum. So most people will build like the tail first, and the reason the plans are that thick, 173 pages, is because every single detail is included. Every bolt, every nut, every piece you do is told about and shown with a picture.
Oh, yeah.
And all that. And every full size fitting, every fitting is full size. Everything, the airfoil is full size, and then I explain you can do T6, I think.
I think we got an air show going on.
Yeah.
Y'all guys want to kind of wrap up and
Yeah.